Well, hello and welcome to the Exponential Australia Church Leaders Podcast. It is so great to have you with us again this fortnight as we hear from such a wide range of different people and leaders when it comes to church planting, multiplication, all sorts of different models and approaches and methodologies from right across and around the Australian church, as well as from those across the seas as well. And today we are joined by a local church planter in the form of Katrina Kruithoff, who has planted Connect Christian Church in Mornington. Katrina, it's so great to have you on the podcast with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, we're so glad that you're here. And like we like to do with all of our guests that we have on the podcast, to hear some of your experiences, to hear some of the things that you've been doing, particularly as you are a on-the-ground church planter. We have a wide range of guests, folks who are doing it, folks who have done it, folks who are leading churches that are sending out churches. But it's so refreshing to actually hear from those who are in the trenches planting churches. We want to make church planters the hero. And Katrina, we think you're a hero, particularly as someone who is planting a church. But before we get to kind of your journey, in particular, as you are planting at time of recording, it's been a year since you planted. Just give us a bit of a backdrop and a sketch as to who you are and your journey up until this point, and then we'll talk about Connect.
All right. So my name's Katrina, and I am we're going to have to start this again, Charlie. I'm a mum to a 10-year-old boy and a wife to a wonderful husband. I've been married for 24 years. And prior to going into ministry, I was a nurse for 15 years. And through a very, very long infertility battle, I actually went and studied counselling as well and opened up my own counselling business. So I've kind of got these things behind me that developed some really good tools to come into ministry. And, that's who I am. And I worked as the family's pastor and the kids pastor at Connect Christian Church before going in to be the lead pastor at Mornington.
That's amazing. And so you've kind of always orbited around church land. You've always been in ministry. What's some of that backdrop before we kind of get to the actual planting of the church?
Yeah, so I've actually been at Connect Christian Church since it planted out of Springvale Church back in the 1980s. So It's always been my home. It's got really deep roots and things there. I grew up there. I met my husband back at Springvale when we were 3 or 4 years old, and then they came over and planted the church. So been in each other's lives most of our lives, and grown up there and just developed into where I am today.
Amazing. So it sounds like as part of your journey, you've always seen, known and experienced church planting. Like it's been something that you, even as a 4-year-old, being part of a church that planted a church, that's something that's always been on your radar.
Yeah, it seems to really be in my DNA without me ever realizing it was there. And so I never planned on leaving Connect Frankston. I always thought I was going to grow up, live there, work there, die there and everything. And, God just paved a way and opened a door. And here we are 1 year in to planning Connect Mornington.
Isn't that amazing? Well, that's what I want to get to next, Katrina, is to particularly hear about that journey for you, because we know for every church planter, for every church that is planted, it can be a very different journey in getting from A to B and how that comes about. And so we'd love to just kind of spend some time, firstly, hearing some of that journey, the call, the preparation, the planning, even how the first year has gone. Like you just said, at time of this recording, you've just celebrated 1 year as a church. What was it? Did it go as you expected? What are some of the challenges? Would love to hear your journey.
I think one of the things we need to put towards church planters is to expect the unexpected. And I think we all go into it thinking it's going to go a particular way, and it doesn't always go quite that way to plan, but there's other areas that just blossom and grow and you just go, I never would have predicted that. So I guess my journey began, as I said, I was the families and kids pastor at Connect Frankston, and late 2022, Pastor Adrian approached me and asked if I would go be the lead pastor at Mornington. Funnily enough, I'd been doing some paperwork on getting Mornington started, finding a building and everything for the months prior. but I didn't realize that I would be the one going to then lead that. And so that was definitely a God moment. When Pastor Adrian asked me that, I went and prayed on it, and God answered rather quickly. And because I really loved what I was doing, I was like, are you sure, God? Like, what? Like, either way's a win here, but are you sure that's what you want me to do? So my husband and I sat on it. We were both praying individually, and then we came together, and the answer very clearly was go and I'll empower you. And I think that's been a really big theme in our hearts and our lives. Go and do what I've called you to do. Go and plant this church. Go and be the light. Go and be the Great Commission. Go and help that community find hope and truth and love. And that's the heart of where we've come out of. And so the call was kind of put out at Connect Frankston for people who wanted to go join a new plant. And so we went out with about 25 people. Beautiful team, big, deep hearts, most of them local to the area of Mornington. So people do want to see a church in their local area. They want to be a part of that. They want to make an impact to their local community and see things change and shift as well. So we went out and we had a building. That was the only building we could actually get in Mornington. We tried a number of schools, a number of community places, and they just either had a lot of sports on. One place said, we can't have you because we don't want to be seen as, what's the word?
Affiliated or?
Yeah, more preferencing your religion over someone else's or things like that. So, yeah, but the particular place we were in is called The Studio, and it's a beautiful, bright and light building. It's very central to where we are. We have people just walking off the streets. There's a building across from us that does a lot of fairs and things, so it kind of gives us a little bit of advertising while they're there. And, yeah, it's just a great place to run our church. And what we've learnt over this last year is that there was a purpose-built 3-year-old kindergarten just a few doors down from that interconnects to our building. And so last week, as we had our first birthday, we launched our new kids program into this purpose-built room.
Awesome.
And so you just watch all these little God moments along the way, including where the building's positioned and what you've got available.
So good.
So, yeah, there was a large group that came with us, and you could see that they were inspired to go do something new as well. And a lot of them have that heart of, hey, just put me to wherever you need me. And that's really the heart that you want when you're planning a church. It's, hey, we're all in this together. We fill the gaps, we fill the needs. And over the last 12 months, we've just seen people rise up in different areas, little bits of hearts coming out, unique gifts inside them. And now it's a time of shuffling people around to fit into the gifts that God's put on their lives as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, I guess there's some things that we haven't expected. A couple of months in, I was actually in London at the Alpha conference, and I got a phone call, and sometimes when you don't have a permanent building, you get shuffled to another building for a week. The week that we got shuffled to this other building was a mega marathon in Mornington, and they had decided to set up their zone right next to our building, and so we couldn't get into the building to run church at all.
Wow.
So on that particular occasion, it was a quick SMS out going, hey, guys, we can't run church today. We recommend you go off to any one of our local churches and go to there, because there was nothing we could do.
Yeah.
And being on the other side of the world, I couldn't do anything either. I didn't even see the message until the next morning. I'm going, oh, well, that's great. That's a great way to plan. Expect the unexpected, I tell you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. It helps us put strategy in place for this year when that happens again, and we'll figure it out. But, yeah, expecting the unexpected. And, so I guess with Mornington, we know that there's been 6 other churches, Pentecostal churches, that have gone before us and now no longer run.
Wow.
So we already knew when we went into Mornington that this was a hard area. There's something over this area. And God's given me a bit of a vision of that, of this bit of a black cloud. And so we know that they need something in there. We just want to go in and be that place that's not just there on a Sunday, that's there every day of the week, that they can come and learn who that is. So we've started to make connections in the community. We've got a music play group that we run for mums and little ones. We've got Alpha running once a week now, so people can come into that. And there's even bigger plans for the future. So we are building a church that's not just there temporarily. We are building a church that's there for future generations and people to come as well. So that's a little bit about us. I guess the biggest thing that we've noticed this year in the unexpected is the personal tragedy. The things that we have no control over. I've seen relationships really struggle, marriages get hit really hard financially, other things going on, people's health, people who have stepped into this church with this passion and this dream to help, their health has just been really hit as well. We had a lovely leader on our team, her stepson committed suicide. And that was something that we never expected to go through as well. And as a church family, you just get behind people and you want to love and you want to help and you want to help others know about that and that there is something more to hope in. But when you're going through that deep pain and everything, like that's a really hard, life-changing situation.
Yeah, it's so true, Katrina. I think particularly in naturally when you're planting, you would be typically a smaller group of people, and therefore when someone feels something like that, the whole community feels like something like that, which I guess is another unexpected challenge as well, how you lead and shepherd a group through, whether it be grief, whether it be joy, whether it be hardship. Those things are really significant when it comes to church planting.
Absolutely. And you got to shift and change and pivot. I think that's one of the biggest things, shift and change and pivot and really love people and not put those expectations on them as they're going through those circumstances.
Yes, absolutely. Katrina, one of the other things that came to mind as you were sharing earlier, particularly as you were involved with the administration and the preparation of the church that was being planted in Mornington, like, you didn't envisage that you were going to be involved. Like, that wasn't something that you, even at that point, you thought, this is not me that's leading the ship. And I wonder if you just speak to potentially some people who might be listening today who they thought they could maybe never do something like that, or they thought, that's all well and good for other people, but maybe not for me. And of course, that's a journey for everyone. I'd love to hear some more detail about what God caught your attention with in terms of your journey to planting.
Yeah, look, I had definitely grown up as a kid not far from Mornington. I'd been down there quite a lot through the summers and things as a little kid, swimming in the beaches and just going down there. My husband and I love it down there. We go down there. There's great restaurants. There's beautiful places down at Mornington. But Frankston was always my home. It was where I felt I was always going to be. And so as this situation just kind of came up and Adrian asked me, it's not my heart that changed. It was God changing my view and my heart and what he was asking. And I think you've got to keep your heart open to what he's asking you to do. Where's he asking you to serve? And sometimes that just could be here, there and everywhere. Yes. But in this situation, it was a very specific go and it was a very specific change. I hadn't sought being a senior leader. That's never where I thought. I was one that even on my wedding day, I didn't want to walk down the middle of the aisle because I didn't want everyone looking at me. So I'm not one of these people who wants to be in the spotlight or things like that. I'm very happy to be cleaning the toilets and be behind the scenes and working from different perspectives. But God obviously put a whole lot more in there, and he asked me to lead. And in that obedience, you're able to step out and go.
That's incredible. And I think that's probably a testament to your leadership, Katrina, that you actually feel like you are not one to be in the spotlight, but God seems to have a tendency to use people like that he calls, whether it be David, who's out in the, in the fields, tending to the sheep and protecting them. And I think that's also the heart of what God might be doing in our country in terms of a humility that's required if we're going to reach people and plant churches. And I think that's a great segue, Katrina, particularly to this this kind of motto that you used as we were talking offline around, building the church brick by brick. And of course, it's God who builds a church. We obviously participate and we're obedient to the Great Commission. But I wonder if you talked about what that's looked like for you guys at Connect, particularly as you've just alluded to this grief, a whole bunch of stuff that's happening that you didn't expect. How do you build brick by brick in that first 12 months?
Yeah, so I guess you start off with your core team that you've gone out with, and so you're meeting with them on a number of occasions before you even have your launch day, and you're figuring out, okay, who's got abilities here, who's got that there, and then it's kind of everyone in and make it happen, and then from there you start to plan and you start to see things in people, and you can only see those things in people by catching up with them, by discipling with them, by doing life with them. It's not, hey, we all turn up on a Sunday. It's, I know the other little bits and the pastoral care bits of ins and outs of people. What's going on with their life? What are they wanting to do? What's God calling them to do? And just pastorally caring, journeying with them along the way to see what's God doing? What's their heart like? Where are they wanting to serve and things like that? And so you do it brick by brick, literally by building those basic foundations. You can't jump ahead and put the roof on the building until you've got the slab and the foundations laid. Right. And so that's what we're doing. And so there's different programs that we've been a part of. There's more we're entering into this year to help continue those foundational layers that give us the strength and the coreness of our team to help continue to grow. I'm a pretty self-reliant person, so the reality is I could get a big chunk of stuff done by myself. Yes. But that's not going to keep our church there for generations to come. We've got to spread it out. We've got to be able to focus on, I can't write a sermon every couple of weeks to preach and do all this. So that person over there has got those beautiful gifts that we can pop there. And they actually really want to do that. And you know what? God put those gifts in and they're passionate and hungry and they want to serve God in the things he's given them to do as well. So finding the little niches and building those. So building brick by brick is as families come in, as people come in, even the more mature aged people, they've got abilities and they've got things that they want to serve in too. And it might just be welcoming on the door. It might be helping in the cafe or the hospitality. But watching how after the service everybody stays and has morning tea together. There's not a lot of running out the door, I've got to go. It's building community. It's building a family. It's building a church home.
I love that, Katrina. There's something so beautiful in that, and particularly is I think you mentioned it before, there has been a real focus on and swing back to the local. I think people really want local. They want to be known. They want to be in that level of community. Of course, we celebrate all that God's done in the past through other models of church as well. But there is something about what people are really desiring in this season around local. You've been involved in seeing churches planted at a very young age, and even in the planting of Connect, like you had this vision for, hey, we don't just want to be one church plant. We want to be a church planting church, or we want to be part of multiplication in the region into the future and around Melbourne. I wonder if you'd speak to what that has meant for you to have that as your foundation. Like it's something that you've talked about, thought about, you want to be involved with in the future. How does that affect the way you lead? I think even what you just said right now was brilliant in terms of, I actually have to let that gifting flourish in somebody else's gift mix. Like that kind of stuff is really important.
Yeah, look, to be honest, if I could train everybody up and keep them at our church and raise a really strong foundational church, that would be awesome. But that doesn't release people to go and then replicate what's happening. So I guess I have the visual of a fruit tree, and that you plant that seed, and as it grows, it becomes more sturdy and strong and its roots go down deep, and eventually it produces fruit. And then you eat the fruit, the seeds come out, and you go replant again. So that's always the vision in my heart of going, okay, we've got to raise these people up to do what they're called to do. And then one day, some of them are going to have to be released to go do it somewhere else. So I can't just keep them all to myself. And I think that heart comes from Connect Christian Church as a whole. growing up as part of Connect Christian Church and Pastor Adrian, we have 5 churches that are part of our Connect Christian Church family. And so they're already spread across a number of locations in the peninsula and the southeast. So we know that there's more to come. It's just the beginning at the moment. So even planting a church in Mornington, I'm going, okay, as I'm thinking about it and as we're growing our team, I'm going, okay, one day there's going to be a church that comes out of us. And so you're thinking about that and you're going, okay, we're establishing here, we're building strong foundations here, but eventually one day another church will come out of here because there's more people to be reached and we can't do it all from where we are.
Yes. I love that. That's brilliant. And it would be such an encouragement for our listeners to kind of hear that, particularly for those who are in the process of planting, thinking about planting. What does it mean straight from the get-go? Is the aim is not the totality of planting one church, but planting multiple churches. And as the Lord wills, you and I can't do it. We need the collective of the body of Christ. We need one another. We need to have this vision for multiplication that's going to reach people.
That's right. And you think it might come through the unexpected people like myself, the people who don't think they're going to do that. And then sometime God's going to drop something in their heart and they're going to go, oh my goodness, I get that. I want to be that light. I want to go do what God's called me to do.
So good. Now, my final question for us today, Katrina, is sadly about an altogether rare dynamic that we pray and want to see much more of in the Aussie church, and that's to see more women planting churches. You are the lead planter. You're the lead pastor of Connect Christian Church in Mornington. Your husband's along for the ride, but you are the church planter. And I just wonder if you'd kind of speak to, you kind of talked about unexpected and just the dynamic of what it's meant for you to lead as a woman and just to even encourage and champion others who may be listening to this, who are thinking maybe that's what the Lord's willing for me in this next season.
Yeah, and I think you've got to hold on to the vision God's given you because there's a lot that comes at you, even just the mummy guilts of not being there for everything for my child. But I think we all have that in all sorts of different scenarios, but you've got to hold on to the vision God gives you to go and I'll empower you, not you get to do it all on your own, or not that you have to do it all on your own. Is I'll empower you. I'll equip you with the right people. And so my husband is amazing. He's there every Sunday. We do a massive gym workout before our church service because you've got to set it all up. Then you run the service and then you got to pack it all down again. There's a little point for people. You don't need a gym membership when you're planting a church because you get a physical workout anyway. But yeah, I think as a female, it's probably like most people. There's things that have come at me this year stepping into this position that I never would have imagined. The fears and the doubts that you can't do this because you're a female, or you can't do this because you're not able, or how many women am I going to let down if I fail this? There's things like that come. The enemy loves to have a field day in our mind. So having a strong network of supportive mentors and people that can continue to speak in, having Connect Christian Church as a whole behind us, backing us, where in the beginning we didn't have any music team or things like that. They were able to help send people as our team established. It's like I said before, I think because my mother-in-law, she paved a way. She was the senior pastor at Connect Christian Church Frankston many years ago. So I never really questioned an ability of a female person being able to do it. Didn't think I was the person, doubted very much in my abilities. But it's definitely a call that God has said, go do this. And with him comes supernatural strength, supernatural ability, skills and learning and the ability to do things you just never thought about. The burden of planning a church has been interesting because it is constantly on your heart and your mind, and you're praying for these people and you're wanting to see them have freedom and hope and breakthrough. But even that's not me. I can't do that. But that's God. And I think because that burden is there, I get to keep going and going. We're not finished yet. We're not done yet. We've got to keep going. There's more to do.
Wow. Katrina, that's such incredible insight, and what a wonderful way to finish our podcast today. It's just been such an encouragement to hear your journey, to hear some of the things the Lord has done in preparing you, to hear your insights. And the first year, we celebrate with you the first year of Connect Christian Church and all that God is going to continue to do in and through the church and yourself as a leader. So thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, and I just really encourage and cheer other people on as they go and plant churches.
Praise God. Amen.